Sukhpreet. How are you doing?
Hey Gaurav, I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for taking out the time. We welcome you to the podcast of JOP, Joy of Performing, and we are here to really understand a little about your background, your past experiences, and what got you to be one of the youngest HR heads in the country, right? So that's what the topic is, breaking barriers. So would love to maybe get some introduction of yours for the audience, and we can go from there. Up to you.
Super. So thank you so much for inviting me. I think I'm looking forward to this great interaction with you and the team. So as he sort of introduced myself, I'm Sukhpreet. I am an HR professional for close to about 2 decades, precisely 18 years. I've worked with some of the known and not so known brands both, but they've been excelling in their own industries and they're doing some wonders. Talking about myself otherwise, other than being an HR person or somebody who's very, very inclined towards how the business performances work, how do we build those scalable businesses. I do practice a lot of other passions as well, which is largely around fitness, music, food. So that's something that I do. I'm based out of Greater Noida. This term is quite in these days in some of the memes that we keep come across, right? In one of the movies, it's got used. So this place is getting famous where I live now anyway. Well, jokes apart. So that's about me. I happen to do my own practice now, right? And work with sectors like consulting, automobile, e-commerce, retail. So I've seen different sides of the world, right? From seeing a business from the seed, or maybe developing a business, or maybe excelling the branches of a bigger tree that's already existing for some time. So that's about me, I think.
Thank you. No, thank you. That's great. That's great. Now, Supreet, I haven't known you for a long time. Maybe it's been
Hmm.
about 6 months or so, but I've been very candid and open about like how I appreciate you being a great mind, both in the space of HR processes, how you really understand the subject extremely well and can relate it to the business, right? And I've been an entrepreneur for a little over 2 decades, and I know how
Hmm.
hard it is to build businesses, and people
Right.
play an important role in that. And so does, I mean, that's where the role of HR comes in. So you said 18 years in the HR space, right? That's exactly half your age. I was just asking, so my friend Sukhpreet is 36, so half your age. Why did you get into HR 18 years back? What happened that you got into HR? And how have you seen the transition in the last 18 years? And then what made you really commit yourselves to be that one of the youngest HR heads in the country? So what's your story like?
Well, story is nothing less than a movie for me. If I just look back and I see that there are different reels coming in, right? There are phases, there are chapters, right? Then there is an interval, then there is this continuous, and there is no climax or end to now. So honestly, it wasn't really in the plan. I certainly believe that many of the things happen in your life that are unexpected. And yes, of course, things that you plan, they do make a difference. But sometimes things that happen unexpectedly, they yield different results to you, and you become a very different individual, right, by experiencing them. So the journey has been full of struggles, full of learning. Honestly, my parents are up in heaven, so they wanted me to become a lawyer, right? uh, and then I was like, nah, that's something I won't want to do. Things were a little topsy-turvy, and then my first organization turned up, and then that's how, there's no looking back. So I started into learning and development, coaching, moved into employee engagement there. And then I was like, okay, now this is something that I want to do. Then since then, there is no turning back. So the story or the journey is full of learning. I've come across meeting so many people in this entire journey so far. They have left an immense bigger impact on me, and I'm sure they would like to resonate the same feeling from seeing, working with different leaders, imbibing their leadership competencies and their leadership styles over a period of time has really shaped me, the kind of individual I am. A lot of what I come along with me or get along with me comes with those experiences. I mean, I still remember in these 18 years, maybe when it comes to building organizations or building businesses, right, from any domain of human resources, is something that I've not really touched, right? So I've tasted all the ingredients, right? The ones that taste spicy, the ones they taste sour, the ones that taste bitter and the sweet. So all the flavors is what I've tasted. And this journey, I think, is full of, as I said, just not learning, but I think is about comprehending what you can actually learn and repair over a period of time, right? I mean, if I look back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, very different individual I would have been. I mean, if you would have met me, you met me 6 months ago. So if you'd have met me, let's say 10 years ago, you would have possibly met a very different Sukhpreet.
Sure.
So as I say, we are all work in progress. So I'm a work in progress and continue to work and move away from the concept of perfectionism to this concept of developing and working on the growth areas.
But isn't that, I mean, that's the reality for a person, for a business as well, right? Even a business is work in progress. So
Definitely.
totally agree with you. Now, let's say what are the three main things that would have changed in the last decade or so? You were talking about you would be a very different person 10 years, right? So what are those
Right.
three main things according to you as a person would have changed to you, perspective of HR or just a professional?
I think if I were to look at that angle in the last 10 years, I would have seen, I mean, I'd say from limits to exploring possibilities. I think this is how I
Hmm.
would, like to sum it up. Uh, as you grow, you meet people, you experience things at a personal side or at a professional side. There is this very strong energy exchange that you do. And when you do those energy exchanges, you kind of figure out that, okay, fine, there's something that I have to be, and there is something I don't have to be. So a lot of self focus, I would say working on myself, understanding what I do, how I do things, right? What is going well. It's like a SWOT of my own that I would have over a period of time. So one part of it is that I would always look at, okay, this is limiting me. This is limiting me. This is limiting me. How I actually go ahead and figure out that this limit may give me some endless possibility. I mean, I may not achieve that, goal immediately, but maybe later. I mean, I can share one classic example. I've been a very inquisitive child from the very beginning, right? I would always like to find why. Right. A lot of people get little, and I think some of the people that I've worked with in the past and even back home as well, they'll resonate with this thought that Sukhpreet asks a lot of questions, right? So why? Because I realized that I've been an inquisitive child from the very beginning. So I want to understand a why behind a how and a what. So taking a small example, I underwent a complete body transformation some time back, right? I would be one of the laziest person you would come across when it comes to hitting gym, right? Or maybe working on myself, right? So that one piece, right? So shunning that lazy attitude of mine over a period of time to see what kind of result it yields for me, and then also trying to figure out at the same time that okay, now this lazy piece is gone. I'm not impatient, right? I've learned a lot of patience. There is a concept called reverse parenting. As your parents, start to become older or they start at certain age group, kids start to become their parents. So there's a concept called reverse parenting. So once you start doing reverse parenting, that really helps you also to control those things. Oh, you'll be like, okay, now I realize, how my parents used to feel about me. So there is a complete realistic reflection, like a mirror that comes back to you in a form of a cycle. In the last 10 years, these were some of the things. I mean, seeing, the reality of life, losing some loved ones, in my life. So those things have really changed my perspective on how life is. Earlier, I would think that, okay, fine, this is all about materialistic. Oh, this, that, this, and that. Now, after seeing those experiences and undergoing so much of different experiences, I realized, okay, life is just not this. Is way beyond this. I generally quote this thing that life, lived without struggles, right? And learning is not the life lived at all.
Wow. I mean, that's a great thing to say, right? Because we can be bogged down with our struggles or we can take them as an opportunity for us to learn. And I think I'm so glad that I'm hearing someone who actually took the other options. So that's fantastic. So Preet, let me double click on your career as an HR, right? So what do you think today an HR is just a support function to the business or it's actually the business in itself? Like where do you think HR is? Because if we go a little maybe 10 years back or something, HR was just looked at as logistics, right? Like time, leave and attendance or payroll. But today it's supposed to be a front business function and a support business function that really helps business to achieve their goals as well. So how do you think the transition has been in the last 10 odd years?
I think, as I say, as you just said a while ago, right? Businesses are also work in progress. So as we see that, I mean, let's just talk about any other function these days, right? We generally focus that HR has taken that front seat. Definitely it has, right? Even look at marketing for that matter, right? There were very different traditional practices in marketing they were doing, right? Right now, marketing also plays a very important role, right? Despite being a function that is perhaps was not seen earlier at a front seat, or maybe finance for that matter. Why HR was always looked upon is the fact that people have this traditional mindset as a cost center, right? More around operational, right? More around these pieces. However, if you ask me, as the organizations or businesses grow, things change, environment change, micro macro impacts come into picture, right? That entire administrator way of operating just got changed because let's look at people came from different the new businesses came, right? All this concept of venture capitals, right? Or the concept of startups, right? The new age, the new way of operating, I'm not saying they challenged the traditional businesses, but they definitely increased or created job pools for a lot of people. I mean, I remember in the last 18 years we would have just created, if nothing less than 25,000 jobs. So
Wow.
that actually gone to a different level, and you will come across different people, different individuals with different expectations, and people are bound to change. No matter how hard you say that, no, I want to work like that, people bound to change. I still know organizations wherein HR is still looked upon at that an administrative or a logistic function to just to maybe policing around around the employees, which of course is not something that aligns with my own value system, right? When it comes to working. So having said that, no second thoughts on that, or no hard feelings around it. Businesses have looked upon finding that yes, HR has a crucial way, role to play. How? One, it's just not about finding talent, right? Two, it's just not about retaining them. Three, it's just not about paying them. There is a whole lot of strategy that gets into place to make them feel connected, make them feel engaged, not with those fancy activities that people talk about, but at a very grassroots foundation level, whether people have those safeties. These days, people look for safety and security everywhere, whether it's jobs, it's relationships, it's friendships, anywhere that you go. Even if you're driving, you look forward to safety and security. So any individual has these unsaid needs, and the organization, once they realize it, HR plays that role in terms of fulfilling those security and safety needs of the employees. And in the last 10 years, I've seen these drastic changes, some of the amazing practices that I myself have would have implemented. I could have never thought that I would be able to do that because it was a real-time problem solving. So I now HR becoming more or less like a how would I say, more or getting a clerical work, right, or a clerical job, right? No hard feelings around it. Right now, it has actually become a very strong diagnostic unit,
Hmm.
right? I mean, now the HR has that understanding of the business. Eventually, they have gotten that thing because why? It's a monkey see, monkey do. If one organization would be doing, other one will say, oh, ye lag kar rahe hain, kyun nahi kar? So people are like, and that's fine. It's perfectly okay, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But how you can do
absolutely.
differently, if you look at most of the practices are, you'll find some similarities in the practices. But what differs is the business dynamics. I mean, something that would work for manufacturing may not work for, let's say, but there could be some element that may work. Last part around it is the fact that once business HR has become that a diagnostic unit, you do like an X-ray or a CT scan, or you come back with the problem. You have a problem that, listen, I want to solve XXYY thing. HR comes back and provides solution that if you do this, this is what it impacts in the business. So a bigger picture, a bigger reality, right? And certainly not how traditional, personal is what we used to call like early 90s, right? That personal managers and personal administrators. So that entire change has come into evolution once they've seen that there's a demand in the business and there is a need for it. And definitely more than anything, that HR is competent of leading businesses. You have examples of so many people who have moved from HR role to business roles, right? So I won't shy away from quoting Lena Nair, right, from Unilever. Classic example. So there are people who are running these businesses, the HRs are running businesses, right? And they have that
Absolutely.
capability of running businesses. And that is a bigger mindset shift that has come into picture in the last precisely maybe close to about a decade and a half or so.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think you really said it right when you said that rather than just an operational role, it's a more strategic role in the business today. And also,
Right.
it's not about just the payroll, but it's all about employee engagement and the safety. And I think that's absolutely right. So, where do you think talent management and performance management plays a role today? And how do you think it's shifting for the future?
I think the practices and the businesses have seen a very strong elevation within themselves. Now, if you look at everyone in the organization, you're an entrepreneur, you're in the organization or your own, right? So you get it that everyone has this one angle that, okay, I want to grow, right? But within the organization, how can I grow? A lot of people have no visibility or next to less visibility as to what can happen to me next in terms of my career trajectory, right? And let's say today I'm a software engineer. Tomorrow, what do I become? Can I move to a product role? If I talk about, let's say, any tech organization, or let's say I'm currently in business development, can I move to marketing? Or within marketing, I'm into growth marketing. Can I move to brand marketing? Now, these questions, how organizations generally answer that if I feel. So companies are moving from feeling to science to reality. And that's when there is a very strong scope of things like talent management, performance management, or a continuous performance management for that matter. At the end, everybody wants to know, what am I doing? First, where does it impact what I'm doing? Even if my job is today to pick up this cup from here and place it on the next table, I'd like to understand what impact did I make. I mean, you're paying me for it because I'm selling my skills. Let's be very clear. That's how, a transaction works between an organization and an individual. But having said that, it's more around identifying your gaps, identifying your strengths, and how you work on those strengths within that ecosystem of the organization. Whether a software helps, right, or anything offline helps, there is a very, very strong scope. I mean, go back, check out the studies that are rolled out every year during this time. This is the time when a lot of studies come into the market, whether comp studies or talent trends. So many things come into market. One of the very important things that I've come across recently, I'm forgetting the source, is around the agilities that people would want in the next, which are called future skills. And for future skill, an employee needs to understand, where am I right now? And henceforth, talent management comes into picture. How scientifically I want to ensure that my people are in certain bucket, are requiring certain needs, or do they have some development areas, and we work on it and we excel. One job of HR is just not about building careers. We are known for doing a lot of dirty jobs as well, right? But one of the interesting jobs we're also known to do is the fact that building career. Look back as a manager. I maybe a point to ponder for the ones maybe who are watching slash listening is the fact that look back as a manager, how many careers you have built with your team. You might want to say how many careers I've spoiled. That's okay, but how many careers you've built in the past, right? How many leaders you've built in the past. And that is one, at least for me, it's like one of those biggest satisfaction elements for me in my career. So having said that, future skills, future of agilities, these things are really, really cropping everywhere in every organization. And
No,
the future of talent and performance would definitely not fail, considering the fact that it'll just go from one level to another.
absolutely. And there is data which says that people who are able to put effort in and really manage that whole talent management, performance management in their business well, it's 60% higher probability of their success. And I'm not talking about just knowledge based companies, but manufacturing, retail, I mean, even the old school businesses, that's how much of a difference it plays. So totally resonate with that. And how do
Definitely. I
you,
just want to add one part
sure.
here is around which I think I must address when you said this, is around, getting that right kind of output from people. I think these days everyone wants to understand what is the outcome and an output that you're delivering in the organization. But there could be 30 activities you do in an organization, but what does that really maybe transcend into the output or the outcome that you've delivered? I think with this approach, the organization's success is higher because I know what I'm doing, my team knows what they're doing, and this is where we are contributing to. That productivity is higher. As I said, I'm not saying this is just in silos. HR is never in silos. There are things which are overlapping, but there has to be some framework that is there, which is homogeneous in nature, letting people know that, okay, this is where you are, this is where you can be, right? And this is what you need to do to fill that gap.
No, great, great, great. So let me shift gears into think to talking about technology here, right? So we understand what is the importance of it, both for people and the organization. We get the
Right.
data of how really it impacts the growth of an organization as well. What do you think technology has a role to play in it? Is this something that can be handled on Excel, or you need software products for it? What kind of products have you worked with? Where do you see the trend going in terms of technology to handle particularly talent or performance management, let's say?
I mean, I've seen traditional tools to the new age tools, right? From no intelligence to artificial intelligence, I've seen all the tools, right? And based on my experience, there is no one tool that can address everything.
Hmm.
Reason because business nuances are different, processes are different, right? It's just about how logical and structured and scientific the process is, right? Whether let's take an example, how you deliver feedback to your team members versus to How do you evaluate them, right? And how do you really identify the real successors or people who would be elevated? So to answer the first part, no one software for sure, right? There is always because it's a very niche part, it's a very niche thing. So a niche software solving or niche platform solving things definitely helps. I mean, I would have run appraisals back in, maybe 10, 12, 15 years ago on an Excel sheet for about 1,000 people. Ask me the kind of pain that, we were in, right?
Hmm.
Ask me the kind of, and still there are companies who do that, right? Because, I mean, at the end, even a C-suite or a CXO or the board would want to see where the org performance is, right? Let's be very clear. That's what need is these days. We are driven by uh, technology and software for every single thing, right? So that's the need. Definitely, yes, technology is definitely is going to enable, quote unquote, the processes, because it helps you chase one metric that a lot of companies try to chase these days is how, with what amount of speed and pace that we work with, while we
Sure.
don't compromise on quality and the deliverables for people. So that's going to be that piece. And technology, as I said, definitely is, if I say technology is the spine, so HRs are the brain, right?
Hmm.
So, and maybe I'd say HR would be the brain and some part of heart as well, if I would say, right? Because there is a
Absolutely.
logic and emotion
Absolutely.
at the same
Yes.
time.
Yes.
So they definitely have this role and they definitely complement. So as I always say, you might have heard this from me earlier as well. There has to be an equilibrium of natural intelligence and artificial intelligence.
Sure. Sure.
So that's the success,
So I want to ask that, right? I mean, it's an interesting point that you make that not one platform can do it all.
right?
But
Right.
there are all the HRMS in the world, and there are some great products out there, right? They get the job done of what they're supposed to do. But you're saying that a problem like a continuous performance management or a talent management, understanding the business goals and the people goal and aligning them does require a niche product, and I come from the same mindset, and that is why we do that at JOP, right? Joy of
Right.
performing really does what you were saying. But what about companies who say, hey, we will just do it at the HRMS because it's got that functionality, it's got that feature, versus going to a really niche product? What is your experience say, and what do you have to say for this topic?
I think it's around the maturity of the process, is what I would say.
Hmm.
Everything boils down to maturity of the process, right? I look at that, it's just about how you manage chaos in the organization. That's HR's role anyway, in a structured way that you manage the chaos, right? Having said that, it's the company's or any organization's process and the maturity level and how much of the mental investment comes from everywhere. See, it's not that I may have funds, I'll invest in any software, right? Let's be very clear, right? I may have funds, I'll invest. I need it, right? There is a need for it. Now, some companies take a baby step. Okay, we want to do this, and you continue to do this as well because we are happy in that comfort zone. Then there'll be some sort of people after that comfort zone. They realize, okay, now I don't see, how do I really see that there is some direct understanding of the business and the HR. Then they look for, okay, how many Excel sheets can I go through on a daily basis? Right? Let's say I have 10 business verticals or maybe, 5 business verticals or different departments. Anybody would want at given point in time, if they have that interest and the maturity of the process, they would want to go for any kind of a niche or a matured, I wouldn't say matured, but a niche product. So you may have a product X, which is existing, let's say for the last 50 years, or you may have a product Y, which may be existing maybe for the last 5 years. If it suits the problem, if it is able to address that major problem statement and definitely maybe some icing on the cake, definitely those products sail through well. Hence, I said there is always a niche. I have seen organizations using very traditional HR platforms, but for certain things like a learning and development or something else for that matter, they'll pick up a very different player, right?
Hmm.
Which may not be as established or as known or as big as the HRMS platform they would be using.
Absolutely. No, that's great. So, shifting gears again, right? You were in the corporate world for 18 years. You decided to be on your own, become an entrepreneur yourself. What triggered that? And what is it for the next 10 years for yourself?
So I think I realized that it's something that I wanted to do for some time. Honestly, I worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of founders in the past, right? So helping them develop businesses, I realized that okay, now there's a time that I wouldn't say 18 years is too much, but it's not less either. So it's a quantum of experience you get, right, at the end of the day. So I realized that yes, now is the time that I should start looking at, I wouldn't say like an early retirement from corporate world, but uh, just a break, right? And do something of my own. Utilize the whatever I've learned, maybe with different set of people, and have more learning experiences, and not a one-directional learning experience, but maybe for multi-directional experiences. Henceforth, that was one reason to look forward. Okay, fine, I want to start something of my own, and I've have the opportunity of working with some amazing entrepreneurs in the past. So I've also picked up their learnings as entrepreneurs, and definitely, something I'll be extra cautious on not burning my own hands with, right? That they might have done in the past. So that's the learning, the cycle. In the next 10 years, it's very difficult to predict. Life is very, very unpredictable. So I generally look at shorter plannings, right, than long-term plannings as an individual. Definitely, there is a long-term thing. It's always there. So maybe in the next 2, 3 years, maybe establishing something very big that I look back and say that, yeah, there is some contribution that I've done, right, and I've contributed somewhere, just not in one organization at a point in time, but maybe multiple. Henceforth.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, let's come to your personal life. I know you're passionate about health. I know you're an avid, someone who really likes to work out and be good, with your mental health and your
Yeah.
physical health.
Yeah.
How do you think it makes a difference at your work life? And what is it that you would like to maybe give 2 cents to the audience as well on that?
I mean, see, it definitely starts with that feeling that you have to do. As I said, right? I was telling you that I used to be very lazy about all this, right? And then one fine day, I just had this eureka moment, and I like, no, I have to do mujhe karna hai thoda, and then how began. It brings a lot of, I would say, discipline and regime in your life, right? Anything that you do, I mean, any passion that you have, for an example, right? If you talk about cooking, if you talk about, let's say, gardening. So for me, I think it's important to is what I feel,
Lovely.
right? We always hustle,
Right.
right? Maybe you may want to self-reflect. Morning, we are like all running around with kids, with family, with something, work, and so on, the other thing. I watched a video a couple of years ago. I don't recall the time, somewhere on YouTube, wherein there was a story of one caregiver nurse who put together her experiences of top 5 regrets that people had when they were dying. So in the United Kingdom, that you have that caregiving system,
Yeah.
nurses are allotted, right?
Yeah.
So there were so many things. Example, somebody wrote that I wish I was able to focus on myself. I wish I was able to express that I love that person. So life is about power of now, is what I
Hmm.
feel,
Hmm.
right? नहीं जीते. So
Wow.
passions बहुत जरूरी होते हैं. Passions are very important for you. They give you a little diversion from your daily life. It's like camera, right? I keep zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in. I say, oh, I have this icon here. But when I start little zooming out, I see, oh, there are 3 more icons. I never saw that. Oh, there are 5 more icons. I never saw that. So that entire concept of, zooming in and zooming out. And then you need to also, at the end of the day, the people come back and say, mere paas time. So there's nothing called time, is what I feel. You always make time for the things that are in your priority list.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, for people who want to explore their passion, I would definitely say maybe take out. If you say I don't even have 1 hour in a week for my own passion, then dude, you need to go back and work on your self-organizing skills. That doesn't work like this. Maybe it's about discipline, regime. It's about a fulfilling, having a fulfilling life. I always say the life is shorter than we really think it actually is, right? So you should not have regrets. Do things that you like is what I feel, right? Don't hurt people. Practice gratitude. Be kind. These are some of the principles I follow, right? That self-focus, self-love is very, very important to have a regret-free life, and never say you don't have time. Important for you to break your own patterns and continue to, work. I think I said that earlier as well sometime, that what you don't learn and repair, you repeat. So you become a progress like this. But yes, passions are important. I mean, I practice different passions, right? Whether it is into food, whether it is into music, into fitness, these are all linked. If you study more about it, that helps you calm your nervous system. Anything that calms your nervous system, you should do that.
No, that's great. I think I totally believe that you have to find your joys, right? When you
Right.
are going through that life and when you're going through that journey, it can be painful, there can be struggles, there can be failures, but it's very important to find your joy. And that gives you the reason, the purpose to get up every day and get going, no matter how difficult it is. And it's not getting easier. I mean, I've got kids, and I only tell them that it's not going to be easy, but get that joy. um, and to be honest, that's where we founded Joy of Performing as well. The whole business is around that performance is hard. It's difficult to have those conversation. It's difficult to make sense of those alignment with the business. But how do you find that joy? How can we make that so transparent, clear, and aligned with the business and people, so that there can be real joy in that journey as well? So I totally understand that. Great. I think we are almost at the end of it. Any last thoughts, Sukhpreet, that you'd like to share?
I think I think I've spoken enough, right? But I would certainly like to say that at the end of the day, you should have your foundation very strong, right? You should have that deep-rooted understanding, some objectives, some goals in your life, right, that you want to achieve, right? Get up in the morning, right? If you want to feel contented, what am I supposed to do? Achieve small, you know, have those small goals set for yourself. Example, a lot of us struggle these days with so many things, right? Or maybe you can have something like, if you have time at home, you can say that today I'll just make my bed, right? Small goals. That helps you feel that a different, I would say, reaction in the body that makes you feel happy, gives you that joy. So do those things. Life is about, zindagi badi badi khushiyon se nahi, choti choti khushiyon se.
Right.
Life is around, all those small happiness, small moments, right? Don't ignore your passions. Don't ignore those small joys, that anything that gives you. Maybe it could be just ordering one favorite dessert of something that you love. That may make you feel happy,
Yeah.
right? Life is never, things are never linear, right? Things are always topsy-turvy, right? But having said that, learn from it, as I said, right? Don't shy away, don't run back. Face, I would say, face your fears, right? Face anything that comes into picture, because I feel that at the end, each storm settles. Just focus on what you can control. And in that entire process of focusing on what other things you can control, do not forget to pay the similar focus and attention to yourself.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Sukhpreet, for your time. I really love this conversation, and I'm sure
Likewise.
our audience would love it too. What is the best way, if the audience wants to reach out to you, what is the best way to reach out?
LinkedIn or Instagram, they can search my entire name. They'll find me over there. Sukhpreet Swaran Sandhu.
Well, thank you again. We'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.
Likewise. Bye.